Before the Vikings arrived, there was only ice and silence at the top of the world. Glaciers, 2 miles thick, carved valleys into ancient volcanic stone beneath endless skies. Seabirds nested on towering black cliffs that dropped into the frigid North Atlantic. The Inuit people hunted ringed seals and narwhals beneath the midnight sun of summer. They built their lives on ice that had stood frozen for 100,000 years. This was Greenland, a land that didn't yet know it would bear that ironic name later. Stay with us for the next 15 minutes as we journey through 1,000 years here. This is Greenland's story, from Viking settlers to melting ice and an uncertain future. In the year 982 AD, a red-haired Norwegian named Erik Thorvaldsson was exiled from Iceland. He had killed 2 men in a blood feud, and the assembly court banished him for 3 years. Erik was a violent man, but he was also restless, ambitious, and desperate for new land. He sailed west into uncharted waters with a small crew searching for rumored islands ahead. What Erik found was a massive coastline fringed with narrow green fjords and grass meadows. The southwestern coast was warmed just enough by ocean currents to support some vegetation. Erik spent 3 years exploring these fjords, claiming land and planning his grand scheme. He called this new land Greenland, a name calculated to lure desperate Icelandic farmers. The name was a lie, but it was brilliant marketing for the medieval age of settlement. In 985 AD, Erik returned to Iceland with tales of fertile valleys waiting to be claimed now. 25 ships set sail from Iceland, carrying 500 hopeful Norse settlers and stock. Only 14 ships survived the brutal crossing through icebergs and North Atlantic storms. But those who made it found that Erik hadn't entirely lied about the green valleys there. By the year 1000 AD, 3,000 Norse colonists lived in 2 main settlement zones here. The eastern settlement near modern Qaqortoq and western settlement near Nuuk held sturdy farms. They built turf-roofed longhouses with stone walls to keep out the Arctic wind's bite. They raised sheep, goats, and cattle in the narrow valleys sheltered between high mountains. They carved rune stones, celebrating marriages and deaths in the old Norse tradition of memory. They constructed stone churches with tiny windows, bringing Christianity to this frozen edge. Life was hard, the winters were brutal, but survival was possible for these hardy people. The Norse established trade routes back to Europe, shipping luxury goods across dangerous seas. They traded walrus ivory tusks, polar bear pelts, and narwhal tusks sold as unicorn horns. Gerfalcons, the world's largest falcons, were captured and exported to European nobility. White falcons from Greenland fetched prices equal to a year's income for a European craftsman. These exports connected Greenland to European courts, cathedrals, and markets far away now. The Norse were now Christians, formally subjects of the Norwegian crown despite their isolation. Norse bishops arrived from Norway to oversee the spiritual life of these Arctic settlements here. For 2.5 centuries, the Norse settlements thrived in their green coastal pockets. They raised families in timber-scarce valleys, celebrated harvests with fermented milk and fish. They told sagas around smoky hearth fires about heroes, gods, and the old country far away. Young people were born who had never seen Norway or Iceland, only these Greenland fjords here. Children grew up thinking these windswept valleys were the entire world that truly mattered. But beneath this fragile prosperity, the climate itself was beginning to shift in ominous ways. The medieval warm period that had made Norse settlement possible was ending across the north. The Little Ice Age was creeping southward like an invisible army from the polar regions. By 1300 AD, the winters in Greenland grew significantly longer, colder, and unpredictable. Pack ice choked the fjords for 8, 9, 10 months at a time instead of only 5 months. Supply ships from Norway stopped coming regularly, then stopped coming at all by mid-century. The Norse settlements were cut off from Europe, utterly alone in a world turning hostile fast. The farms that had sustained them for generations began failing as summers shortened each year. Livestock starved when winter fodder ran out months before the spring grass could grow again. The thin topsoil froze solid, making even spring planting impossible in the worst years now. Hunger became a constant companion in every household throughout the long, dark winter months. The Inuit, who were masters of Arctic survival honed over 4,000 years, moved south. They hunted seals through breathing holes in sea ice using toggle-headed harpoons and patience. They built temporary igloos from snow blocks and knew how to read ice conditions perfectly. The Norse watched them but never learned these crucial survival skills that could have saved lives. The Norse clung stubbornly to their European farming identity, even as it killed them slowly. They kept herding animals that could no longer survive on vegetation buried under deep snow. By the year 1450 AD, the last Norse colonist in Greenland had died in complete silence. The eastern settlement was completely abandoned, houses left standing open to the wind forever. Wooden crosses tilted in overgrown graveyards where 500 years of Norse dead lay. Sheep bones lay scattered in collapsed stone barns, evidence of the final desperate winters. Greenland's European chapter had closed after 4 centuries, ending in starvation and defeat. For the next 3 centuries, Greenland belonged entirely to the Inuit people once more now. They thrived where the Norse had perished, hunting bowhead whales and bearded seals from kayaks. Their kayaks were masterpieces of driftwood frames, covered in carefully stitched sealskin. Their oral traditions carried no memory of the vanished Norse, those strange, pale farmers. The Inuit lived as their ancestors had for millennia, in harmony with ice and sea always. The seal hunt provided food, fuel, and clothing essential for survival in the harsh Arctic. Then, in 1721, a Norwegian-Danish missionary named Hans Egede arrived with a Bible and hope. Egede believed that Norse Christians still lived somewhere in Greenland's interior practicing faith. He intended to save their souls and bring them back to proper Lutheran Protestant Christianity. What Egede actually found were only Inuit communities who had never heard of the Norse before. Undeterred by reality, Egede established the first permanent European mission at what is Nuuk. He began the long process of converting the Inuit to Christianity and Danish colonial culture. Denmark-Norway formally claimed Greenland as a colony, asserting sovereignty over the land now. Trading posts sprouted along the western coast, exchanging European goods for sealskins. But the deadliest European import wasn't Christianity or trade goods, it was invisible disease. Smallpox, measles, influenza, and other diseases ravaged Inuit communities with no immunity. Entire villages were wiped out within days of a single infected trader's arrival at shores. The Inuit population plummeted by more than half over the next century of colonial contact. By the 1800s, Greenland existed as a Danish colony in name, but remained isolated in practice. The Inuit continued living as they had for millennia, hunting and fishing across vast lands. But now they lived under foreign governance they had never requested, consented to, or understood. Denmark extracted Greenland's resources systematically: fish, whale oil, and cryolite for aluminum. In return, Denmark gave almost nothing back except disease, missionaries, and foreign control. Danish governors ruled from comfortable houses while Inuit lived in turf huts and skin tents. During World War II, Greenland's strategic importance exploded onto the global military stage. When Nazi Germany occupied Denmark in April 1940, Greenland was cut off from its colonizer. The United States government stepped in immediately, establishing military bases to protect routes. Thousands of American troops arrived in Greenland, building airstrips on the ice cap's edge. Radar stations and weather observation posts sprouted across the coast for tracking enemy planes. Greenland was no longer a forgotten colony. It was now a vital piece of global warfare strategy. After the war ended in 1945, Denmark reasserted control over Greenland. But the world had changed. The United States maintained its military presence at Thule Air Base in the far northwest forever. In 1953, Greenland's official colonial status was finally abolished by the Danish government. Greenland became an integrated county of the Kingdom of Denmark, with full legal equality now. Greenlanders became Danish citizens with voting rights and access to the welfare state's benefits. Infrastructure slowly began to improve across the island. Schools, hospitals, and housing projects. But rapid modernization brought devastating new problems alongside the promised progress for all. Traditional hunting lifestyles clashed violently with new wage labor economies and European values. Alcoholism rates soared among a people unprepared for both alcohol's availability and displacement. Suicide rates in Greenland climbed to among the highest anywhere on Earth during these decades. Greenlanders were caught painfully between two worlds, one dying, one not yet fully theirs. In 1979, Greenland won home rule from Denmark through peaceful negotiation and democratic voting. The Greenlandic language was officially recognized and taught in schools for the first time. Local Greenlandic control over education, healthcare, and natural resources gradually increased. Then, in 2009, the Self-Rule Act expanded Greenlandic autonomy even further toward independence. Today, Greenland controls almost everything domestically except foreign affairs and defense. But full independence is the dream that many Greenlanders now discuss openly in parliaments. The 21st century brought Greenland into the harsh global spotlight for a terrifying reason. Climate change, caused by human fossil fuel burning, is warming the Arctic twice as fast now. The Greenland ice sheet covering 80% of the island is melting at accelerating rates. Glaciers that stood solid for 10,000 years are collapsing into the sea in massive chunks. In 2019 alone, Greenland lost over 532 billion tons of ice to melting seas. If the entire ice sheet melts completely, global sea levels will rise by 23 feet. Coastal cities from Miami to Mumbai will drown beneath rising ocean waters within this century. And Greenland itself is transforming before the world's eyes into something entirely new now. Coastal fishing towns see ice-free harbors for 8 months instead of 3, changing life. New fisheries are emerging as warmer waters bring cod, mackerel, and other species northward. Mining companies are eyeing rare earth minerals and rubies buried beneath melting glaciers away. Some Greenlanders see this warming as economic opportunity, a chance for wealth and independence. Others see it as catastrophe, the loss of ice that defined their culture for 4 millennia. Inuit hunters watch the sea ice thin beneath their feet and dog sleds, knowing old ways end. The polar bears are starving as seal hunting platforms of ice disappear each summer longer. Today, Greenland is home to just 56,000 people scattered along the western coasts. Most of them are Inuit, living in colorful Nordic-style houses clinging to bare, rocky shores. Nuuk, the capital city, is home to 19,000 people with modern apartments and schools. The city has art galleries, shopping centers, and restaurants serving both traditional and new food. Yet beyond every coastal town, the ice sheet still dominates the interior, a frozen wilderness. It's a white desert, so massive and bright it's clearly visible from space in satellite photos. Greenland has survived Viking hubris and colonial exploitation across 5 centuries of foreign rule. It has endured climate catastrophes before, though none quite like what's coming in this warming. Now it faces its greatest test yet. A warming world that could unlock mineral wealth for all. Or it could unleash disaster through melting ice and rising seas that doom millions of lives. Greenland is melting, changing, becoming something new that no one can quite predict or stop. Like and subscribe, because the next chapter of our planet's climate story is being written. This is Greenland, defiant and transforming at the edge of everything we know about Earth.